Hello, 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 beautiful people. Welcome to the balcony. And it is, what did we just have? We just had day 5 of the certified facilitator training for Access Consciousness. Don't know about Access? Look below, accessconsciousness.com. And we just had day 5 of our facilitator training. And I have to relocate myself. And I was just going to say, one of the greatest gifts in my life is going to the certified facilitator class, to being a certified facilitator of Access Consciousness, because it just shows me that I don't have to buy the world at face value. I can ask questions. I can choose to have a different possibility in the world. And not only that, I get to choose to invite other people to that too. And you can do that whether or not you're a facilitator, in every question that you ask and every conversation that you have, for sure. But to be able to facilitate a class, or to be able to get on YouTube and to do this, or Space of Possibilities in Facebook, and be able to play with you guys. And I just put my finger out of the book. There we go. I didn't lose my page. When we can be this space of invitation, the lightness that you see in someone's face when they recognize that they don't have to stay stuck, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's what keeps me choosing more, to know that there's always something else available. So how does it get even better than that? Today's wee snippet for the night is out of this book, which doesn't look like this anymore, and certainly doesn't have as many markings and not scratch outs, but like underlines and folded pages. My daughter would say that I'm abusing this book, but this book lived in my purse for probably 2 years. I would carry it around with me everywhere. And whenever I was stuck in traffic, whenever I was waiting for my daughter to get out of gymnastics practice, whenever anything, I would pull out the book, because it's light, it's ease, it's smallish, I would pull out the book and I would begin to read. Now I have, I don't know how many books, but I have most of them here as well. But since I had this next to my nightstand, I figure I'm going to pull it out and read it to you guys. So I just asked what would like to be read, opened the book, and landed on this. Is your life enough for you? Now, this book is also an Access Consciousness book, but I don't know if you guys can see them. Those are Steve and Chutissa Bowman. They are amazing. They work with businesses. They work with CEOs. They work with boards of trustees and governance. They speak a lot about governance and leadership, and I really enjoy them a lot. Being in classes with them is phenomenal. Seeing a business perspective to using the tools is just brilliant. And here, I'm just going to read a couple pages from the book. Is your life enough for you? Chutissa and I, this is Steve and her husband speaking, Chutissa and I have met a lot of people who are struggling to make ends meet and using force and effort as a way of making things occur in their lives. Many people we know stay in uncreative, stifling jobs to make money out of the belief that this is necessary for survival. We've worked with many clients who've stayed at undesirable jobs for years, sometimes forever, because they felt they had no choice. The tug of war between the desire to do rewarding work and the need to make more money is played out daily across the world, even in the lives of the many rich and famous people. Recently, while facilitating a conscious leadership seminar for a group of high-profile CEOs and senior executives for major organizations in Sydney, Australia, they're Australian, I asked these questions. What does your job mean to you? What do you desire of your job that if you didn't desire it, would let you be free? And from the front of the room, a perfectly groomed senior executive from a major corporation stood up to share his response to my questions. He said he believed he had to take his job because of his financial needs. He assumed that he had to accept the job that had been offered to him because he might not get another one. He worked consistently to obtain money because he thought he had to do this to survive. And so I asked him 2 more questions. Is there limitation in that point of view? And is your life enough for you? It came through loud and clear to him that he was rigidly maintaining that point of view, that he had no choice but to work at the place that he did so that he could eat at opulent restaurants, wear expensive clothes, drive a luxury car, and pay the soaring mortgage payments on his great house. This senior executive stayed in a job he hated because he believed there were only a limited number of jobs that would pay him the money that he required. He could see no other way to have everything that he needed to survive. There were 3 assumptions in this point of view. The first assumption was that he must survive. The second assumption was that he could not survive without money. And the third assumption was that he was unwilling to not survive. He was fixated on survival, and that is exactly what he created for himself. Survival from paycheck to paycheck, even though his paychecks were enormous. Now, I want you to get, there's so much in that, like really, really so much in that. If you'd read it or listen to it again, it's amazing how much you can perceive by the wisdom of different people's experiences that Stephen and Chutis are pointing us to. Now, that whole thing about the assumptions, and one of the things, if you've been in any of these little video snippets with me or any other conversations with me for any length of time, you know I will often say that to assume is to make an ass out of you and me. It's to function from an underlying point of view. How many underlying points of view are creating your current financial situation, your current relationships, with friends, with family, with loved ones, with your body, with yourself, with the world? How is it that you are presenting yourself to the world? How is it that you're functioning and flowing in the world? And how many underlying points of view are beneath it that are creating, hello, I got my little pup here. And how many underlying points of view are creating that in your world? So look at that. Those are 3 basic lies that we function from, those underlying assumptions. First of all, he must survive. Well, he doesn't have to. He's got choices. Believe it or not, it's the assumption makes it feel like we have no choice at any moment, but we always do. We are far more creative. We can figure out ways to have, to be, and to create anything in our life. Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, wrote a beautiful book, a story book, actually, but it's a storybook that has a lot of energy and a lot of invitation in it. And it's called The Place, or in Spanish, El Lugar. And now he'd like to create it as a movie. The script has already been written. And I think they're looking at raising about $20 million in order to have this movie. But he didn't start with, nope, I can't have it. He just says, yeah, I'll have that. What else is possible, universe? What's the way for me to have this? There's no linear construct of, I have to do this and then I will have that. There's this wild chaos of asking and perceiving and receiving and wondering. And there's no assumption in it, except the knowing and the trust that you'll have what it is that you desire, that you'll have what it is that you're asking to have. But there's no limitation in that. So everywhere we layer meanings, that we layer needs and other things like that on top of, it's not just a job, it's a job. And we add this significance to things. Now, when we do that, when we add all of this significance in, we lock ourselves into only functioning in that kind of position? What else is possible beyond our point of view of this is the only way it can come? So, as an infinite being, okay, first of all, he must survive. An infinite being, whether or not you have your body, you keep going. And first of all, there's a lot of first of alls apparently for me today, because every moment's like, it's all brand new. It's all brand new. Like, oh my God. Okay. So he's got this first underlying assumption that he must survive. Where's thrival in that? Where's joy in that? Where's ease in that? How much denying of possibilities do we do when we fixate on survival and survival only? I know that. I'm daughter of survivors. My parents survived the Holocaust. And the thing is that when you live life as a survivor, that's all you get to see. You can be a survivor of cancer, you can be a survivor of a war, you can be a survivor of whatever, but you're constantly just surviving, just barely making it, just like he's doing from paycheck to paycheck. There's no having ease. There's no relaxing. You can't relax when you have to survive. Life or death is on the line. You see the lies that you're functioning from there? It's kind of cool actually to explore and to see. So first of all was that he must survive. Second, that he could not survive without money. There are so many places on earth where people can create lots of things with bartering, with going off the grid, with creating exchange systems, with going to work in a commune, or who knows. There are so many different ways of working, so many different ways of creating, so many different ways of having what it is that you'd like to have in the most unique ways possible. But you can't see them if all of the possibilities are filtered out by what you have already decided is real and true and solid and is only like this. Make sense? So that was the second one. The third one was that he was unwilling to not survive. There is a sense of desperation and no trust in self also in the unwilling to not survive, from the sense of this means the end. No, an infinite being doesn't have an end point, a particular lifetime, a particular body, perhaps, yes, but an infinite being keeps keeps being infinite. And energy doesn't end, just changes forms and keeps on going. So that's another thing. And then he was unwilling to not survive. He doesn't have an opening to choose something different, to choose something more expansive. He doesn't even ask, what could I add to my life that will create more ease here, that will create more elegance in my life, that will create more possibilities? What could I ask for now that I haven't ever even imagined? And if money weren't the object, and if all of these decisions had nothing to do with my life, what would I choose? What would I ask for? What would I include? What would I enjoy? And what if everything, money amongst everything, follows joy and follows exuberance and follows that desire for more and for possibilities? It's infectious, ain't it? The more people are thrilled and creating and generating and having fun, the more other people want to be around them too, or at least they're inspired by that and they choose that too. Not specifically that same thing, but they expand things in their own way. So what points of view, what lies, what meanings and significances have you given things in your life that, if you'd be willing to look beyond them, would gift you something entirely different? And I am super grateful to these two, Chutissa Bowman and Steve Bowman. You can find them on the twobowmans.com, I believe, or just Google them. They are all over, and they're on the Access website. And they wrote another phenomenal book and had these amazing classes with Gary Douglas called Benevolent Leadership. And they are amazing, amazing people. So I encourage you to find them. I encourage you to look them up. And I encourage you to begin asking questions. What do you know? You. What do you know that you haven't acknowledged that you know? That if you'd be willing to wonder, to open the door a little bit, to acknowledge it, to just let it in just a little tiny bit, oh goodness, would change absolutely everything for you and for us. And what else would be possible then? So thank you, and I will see you tomorrow.